Hi, this is Jake from Periphery, and you're watching Fractal Friday. So here we are with the stage right Fractal Audio Axe-Fx 3s, and we have my Axe-Fx here on the bottom and Mark's at the top, and you can tell which one is whose because we have our names on them, and we also have our own individual colors because you can change the colors on them, and I love that. But when we first switched over to the 3s, it was a long time coming. And it took us a real long time to get there. We've been on the 2s for so long, and it was kind of like this thing that we didn't want to mess up a good thing that we already had. So when we did our last US headliner, where we're doing 2 nights in each city, we thought, well, we're putting all this effort into the set list, and we're trying to like take our show to whatever the next level for us is. Maybe we should do that with our tone as well. So we decided that it was time to kind of start from scratch and build everything from the ground up with the 3s. I was so intrigued by what the 3 was capable of that I volunteered to kind of be the architect of the tones, and all the tones are based off of one default patch that I made, and you can kind of see the layout here. We don't obviously use everything on it at once, so we kind of build our default patch that has the basics or the fundamentals, let's say, in it. And for our rhythm tone, we realized, especially with the 3, that less is definitely more. And if you see what's active here, it's a drive pedal in front of the amp, and then it goes into a cab sim, and then we have a little bit of a EQ here, but this is just for our sound guys. So if it was just like, if I was just playing at home, I'd probably turn that off. Our main rhythm tone is comprised of essentially 3 blocks. The drive block is the Horizon Precision Drive model. That's based off of the company Misha started, and that's his take on the Tube Screamer, and the thing is awesome. It really, really is cool. And then for the amp, we're using the PVH 6160 block lead. And this thing is tight, it's aggressive, it's got great low end, its mid-range is really, really focused and not too harsh. And then as far as cabs, the cabs is sort of the secret sauce. So I'm not gonna go too far into like what that is, but Misha has his cab IRs, and we loaded them into the Fractal, and man, they're good. They are so good. They sound really good. And then on some tours where we have a bit more room or in the trailer or whatever, we'll bring amps and cabs, and that's what this block is. We have an output block that kind of juts off right before the cab block, and this will go from output 3 to the return effects loop of a power amp. So we could have power amps on stage, projecting sound to the front row, and also get that stage vibe going. And then we have the direct signal with the cab simulator going to front of house, so we don't have to mic anything up. Our sound guy gets a consistent signal every night, and we think it sounds pretty good. Sometimes songs call for patches that are really, really dense and have a lot going on. And you can even see like this, with Axe Edit, the CPU is cranking right now. We're at kind of, anywhere between 50 and 60%, which, that gets to that point where you're like, you're using a lot of effects and stuff. But sometimes we need it, and you can run. We run our effects in serial and in parallel. So depending on kind of, what I'll do is I'll go and I'll listen to our stems from the albums, and then I'll try to interpret what we were doing in the studio at the time and try to recreate that in the Axe effects. And sometimes that means that will have used stomp boxes in front of the amp or in the effects loop, and that can make it quite tricky to kind of replicate that vibe or that sound. And that's why we do that, because it makes things very, very unique. But this thing is so powerful, you can do that. So you can kind of hear that like tape warbling sound, and that is really, really hard to get right in a live setting, because doing vintage tape live isn't really like a thing for us. So this handles it quite well. Another cool feature that we use the Axe-Fx for is we have LFOs that kind of tell, it instructs the Axe-Fx to kind of move parameters around in real time. So in order to get a specific lead sound for this song, Four Lights, I have two going on here affecting the pitch. It's really easy to do too. So like all you got to do in Axe Edit is just right click on the parameter you want to assign an LFO to, and then you kind of pick what you want it to do. There's all these different options, lots of stuff to choose from. And you can kind of mess with how you want it to move around. And a lot of this is experimentation. I mean, you kind of have to use your ear in this sense. It's a bit difficult to get scientific with it or verbalize it, but yeah, you can kind of come up with really, really crazy out there stuff by assigning LFOs to your parameters. For our lead tones, we'll switch to the second amp block. You can have 2 amp blocks per patch, and actually you can have even more than that, because the amp, each block has 4 presets essentially, A, B, C, and D. So you can have up to 8 amps going more or less effectively. And so when we go to our lead tone, we switch to a different amp, and that is the Friedman HBE C45. And I like this amp block because it's bright, and it really pushes through the mix, especially with the having 2 other guitar players. Thanks for watching Fractal Friday. I'm Jake with Periphery, and come see us on tour. We'll be announcing more dates soon.